Perfect, perfect. Okay. So yesterday, we were going over the application of what we had been covering so far, since starting from this idea of making sure that we map out our process so that we can actually start building patterns that will allow us to replicate our approach, so scale quickly, but also make it easier for us to pass on the information quickly when we're creating our downline. Um, all this was also in the uh, perspective of applying these notion around asking ourselves the right question, and also the approach of resolving or fine-tuning your audience approach from the first question, the most important question when we're trying to pitch a product or service, a solution, the problem that it solves, right? Last time we had gone over the mechanics at using the information that we receive firsthand from whatever opportunity we were representing or endorsing. They usually give us good information, and it is now in our power, in our right, to fine tune that conversation until we get to this point where we're ready to start offering clear solutions, clear conversation with targeted value to who we are looking to convert, to bring in, to capture. This was also as a follow-up to what we had discussed during the loss transition, keeping in mind the five top lead magnets and how we could approach this exercise in continuation to what we were doing, since the whole point of it was to get to the core of the right messaging approach. One of the things that I had done in preparation of this was a quick prompt with AI, positioning what I had the intention to do, create a funnel. As discussed yesterday in the original approach, out of the five options that I had here, I opted for the first one. All right. I was still in this space, understanding and starting to implement what I thought was the best conversational approach and the right marketing asset to use. It gave me a lot of information, but in line with what I was looking for was the questions, right? The first offer here was a checklist. So my idea or my objective in this case, starting objective, was to have the right questions to create the interest, first capture the curiosity, and then create the interest step by step through simple approval, leading to the hard offer. And of course, in respect to these options, I was keeping in mind different gifts that I would need or that I could offer to reward the approach, the conversation. One of the things,
¿Cómo es?
so okay, so one of the one of the point that came through, since I had decided for this approach to use the Now Site tools, and again, this is applicable to any other tool that you're using. The convenience is that everything that we need is in one place with NowSite, at least for these exercises. So it's going to be a good continuation to stay in this space. So one of the limitation here that I had to face is that the form that we are about to use didn't necessarily offer a scoring system. So once I had my question and I had understood the limitation of what I was using as a tool for this exercise or this interest, I had to change my objective to a simpler approach of fitting my tool. And this is also an important part of our process. When we are about to go into building a project, we really need to understand or know the tools that we have at our disposal. So that makes the decision process a lot more efficient. If I'm deciding to go that route from the beginning, knowing that I have the right tool to follow through, the call to action, the approach, the intent, the process is stronger. It's also simpler to explain, right? So the one key important fact that came about this new objective change, and this again are simple prompts through the AI, noticing the limitation. I came back and prompted it in a core. I have a limitation with the scoring. I want to change objective, make it more simpler. It gave me this a new direction to follow. And one thing that the AI and I was wanted to keep was the questions, because after review, I like where I was going. Right. With this in place, I was now able to start looking at creating the website. And this is where we went to now site, right? You can tell I have something here and already at the social uh, media icon, I'm already starting to implement the conversation, the pain point that I had in mind when looking at the impact of data lost or memory being deleted on the audience, right? Playing on these emotional chord. And that was the most important thing that I was trying to get across when presenting this platform. I rolled out this as being the first, I think, approach that every good marketing asset elaboration should follow, right? Of course, we know very well that in the now site system, we can generate a website or a funnel asset at a click of a button. And what it gives us is the basic architecture, right? The capture page and the landing page. But we now know that the more important part about a website is not that mechanic, capture and landing page. It's a conversation that brings about the engagement, right? Having gone to the previous process, I knew what type of journey I wanted to take the prospect on, right? And the first thing that we should do when creating a marketing asset is approach it as such. So that way, already we are taking care of that prospect journey, right? It keeps coming about. It has been a recurrent subject in our previous conversation and our previous exchanges. The fact that going into any marketing strategy, us as the marketer had to understand the prospect journey so that we could map out what we present to them, which falls into understanding the conversation flow, segmenting the relationship from acquisition to conversion to retention, right? This is going to be a good exercise as well for those who are looking at email implementation, because after going over the explanation or the navigation, I'm going to fall back onto that part, right? Because at the core of building the marketing asset, since we understand that there's a direct action that we will take at acquisition and a follow-up action that we will take in the retention process, that both can be automated, then already here we want to start thinking about that, right? That is part of the algorithm that I'm following. I know that this is going to be part of my process. I need to factor that in into what I'm doing, right? And this is also going to be a key point whenever I'm turning over the conversation to AI, leveraging its power for coding, for example. But we'll get to that. These are higher tiers of conversation. So far, so good. Any questions? Any specific point that we want to address? Go for it. So, once again, we had done this previously when we were discussing the lead magnet or qualification steps. And it's the same approach that I'm bringing forward here. Something that doesn't require much from the audience, from the interested prospect, but allows us to build a relationship, build trust, gamify the first interaction while still offering value, right? In this case, you could see that from the first capture page. And again, coming back to the structure of our lead magnets in this case, this first page is the most important page of it all, right? Because this is where the first decision is made. Do I go forward or do I move away from this platform? Especially that the idea of a funnel is that if you noticed it, if you stop to look at it, then we have captured that interest. Now we need to get into that engagement, right? And the idea of something that doesn't require a direct exchange of information makes it more safe for us. Yesterday, at the end of the conversation, I insisted on the fact that we start seeing past the transactional nature of how we start building our relationship, meaning email, name, and then I can rock your world with a whole bunch of emails. We have to see past that. Look at these exchange as relationship building process. Because again, that's part of the intent. I need to capture your interest, but in the end of all of what is said and done, I need to build a legacy relationship with you. And the stronger your retention process, the stronger is your acquisition process because the environment is made safe and welcoming from the beginning, right? And you will see this play in this conversation, me positioning that community conversation all the way. And here in the strategy, I haven't built the full conversation yet, but I was using pointers in the process to explain what we are doing, the psychological approach that we're using to empower our marketing approach. Because this is important. We keep learning a lot of psychological things, but we have to understand how they simply translate to our approach, right? So this is important. And here, the first thing that I wanted to play on, if this is gamified, if this is made to be training, to remove the fear and bringing the trust, then a curiosity is really what I want to go with, right? If I get your curiosity engaged enough for you to take a simple action and a few of them in sequence, then again, two things are happening. Not only are you agreeing with me, and that constant yes is a good relationship building process. You're following me, you're agreeing with me, we're seeing eye to eye. So psychologically, when you're taking these people to a step-by-step process, they are actually feeling comfortable every answer they give you. I remember on a personal note, when I discovered that approach and I got taken by it, and I actually loved the process, and this is something that is seen and used a lot in the weight loss and meal plan approach, right? Often enough, they'll offer you a free meal plan, and they will offer you to build a free meal plan, and all you have to do is answer a few questions and give a few details about your life habits, and at the end, they gave you an evaluation. But most of the time, you at the end of the process are called to sign up for something to actually get the full evaluation, right? But the process of making it simple and building on the curiosity wins. If you really want something, if you're really interested in it, and you don't necessarily have to give up anything more than your time to get some value out of it, some true value, then you'll proceed forward, right? And this is what we're trying to do. And in this approach, I was also trying to position the value of my product, right? I use this first sentence as an example. Did you ever had to delete a precious moment? Why? Because the word delete that I'm placing here is well chosen to make sure that people understand from the get-go that we're hinting to data, because the right word in this sentence would, did you ever forget a precious moment, right? You don't delete a precious moment. It's etched in your mind, in your heart. But in this case, I'm making reference to data without saying the word. And that's important to differentiate the interest, right? So did you ever had to delete precious data? Then I know that I'm now going into a business conversation more oriented around keeping a whole lot of documentation, right? This is a simple, agreeable question that we all had to experience, right? At any point in time, just with our phone, we had to delete a precious picture, right? We ran out of space. We had to do it, right? And this is something. So in this infrastructure, you could see that when you make that first choice, I bring you into this space and I'm looking at the different direction in which the conversation can go and also the different type of client that can be strong of that answer. And yesterday I covered the fact that when you have an agreeable conversation every time you're getting a yes, well, it's the start of a great relationship. And should your approach in this case be based on that favorable answer, when you get into the next space, the landing page has to reinforce that feeling, right? And this is typical in the funnel approach. You capture, the landing page is meant to fulfill the promise, right? In this case, we're building on emotion, we're building on relationship. So, of course, we reinforce the fact that this is a yes, that this is a good start. And you can see that in the conversation, I bring in that community factor right away. Most of us using this solution, right, have experienced the same issue. When you're in this space and you understand the type of conversation that you're having, then all these Q&As and these pros, cons, pain points come into play, right? Whatever you do, you want to avoid fright, meaning the person not wanting to go forward. So the conversation has to be a slow build up. Hence, sometimes the constant point of not giving too much information at the beginning, boiling it down to the stronger impulse, interest driven information, right? In this case, to avoid fright, my solution was to bring the client at least backwards. Since this is gamify, a lot of people will tend to do that. I'll go forward, I'll go backwards, see exactly what are the different options that I have. As long as I keep you into the system, into my funnel, into this universe, my job is done, right? Or keeps going on. If you leave the platform because of fright, then there's a problem. Everything that I have to do has to empower you to take flight. Right? This is where you get the first call to action to buy in, subscribe, jump in, don't miss the conversation. I have technically in the regular funnel approach where you have the screen capture at the beginning. When you get to the landing page, I have achieved what I want, taking your information, building that bond. Now I want to fulfill it. In this case here, we still haven't collected information. So if we have built enough power in this space. And in this case, I used the video that was offered by the brand that we are representing here today. The asset was strong. I think that it's a valid point for me to add the call to action to buy in. But in our case scenario, following the fact that I'm reinforcing interest, rewarding action, then this is the perfect time to start giving, right? And here at this point already, having done or having gone through the different stage of the brand evaluation and having understood the topic of the conversation, I was already able to start creating content before even um, getting to going to the tool to start looking where I'm going to put these assets, already understanding the clientele, the point of interest, the pain points. I can already go to the AI and prompt it for the 10. In this case, I ask for the 20, it was 20, yeah. I asked for 20 facts for protecting your data. And on the other one, it was 10 tips to handle your data usage in the family environment, right? Keeping in mind that our funnel approach is often tied to automated email sequence. Already, that should give us a lot of ideas. If I have 10 points, better yet, if I have 30 points to discuss around best use of your data, safety rules that would apply whether you take the product or not, things to be aware of. I have enough points of conversation later on if I go back to my tool here and decide to create an email campaign. All right. So already by going through the evaluation of the problem, understanding the audience, their need, I'm already setting direction for where I want to go. And of course, last time when we had discussed this, I had set up the business interests. So simple step would be here. If I wanted to start preparing that strategy, I could start building it here, right? As simply as that. Now, this is, I think, something that we need to cover. I'm going to sidestep to that, and then we'll go back to the journey. I'll tie that into the process because some of us are still struggling a little bit with that idea of generating an automated campaign for either acquisition in sequence or just legacy retention, right? Here, I'm going to do a little bit of both, right? In a sense that I'm going to offer, for example, a newsletter. And in this case, I want to cover, say, 12, well, the whole year in advance, right? General points. I have 30 points that I can include into a possible newsletter, as we are doing with the website. Before I even come in to create the content, I can already line up the schedule. And this is what I want us to go over. It's a few quick points. It's things that you always want to keep in mind when you're in this space, right? Now, it's just going to be a review of basic things, what we apply. But here you have all these settings of an email campaign as you created on in Nowsite, right? So you have the company name, you have the email that the reply will be going to. So you see reply address. Let me maybe increase this a little bit so we can all see it better. All right. So the campaign name, right? The reply to address, which is directly connected to the email that you have linked to the platform, right? All the emails that you sync will appear in this drop down if you have more than one, and you can choose the one that you want to use. Right? Automatically, when you pick it, it populates this email field by default. Okay, there are other options to redirect. We'll cover that later on. Under this, you have the connected list. As you see coming in from the business profile tool, I selected the platform. So already in the connected list here, this is selected, right? Which is the email list that is directly connected to the marketing asset that I generated. And this is important to understand the fact that when you generate an asset, you automatically have an email list that is created. It's empty, it is there for you to fill. This is where whatever action acquisition happens at the level of that platform, this is where these contacts will go. Right? And you can see here it's directly connected. I'm just going to uncheck it for now. It means what? This will not be running automatically at any point. Okay. Right underneath this field, you have the send to list. Oh, it's the send to list. Yeah. So this is where you can decide manually which other list you want to assign to this same campaign. Right. So you see here again, memory lane appears as one of the options. Of course, it exists. If beyond memory lane, I wanted this campaign to be sent out to another list, then I would select it and add it. But this is a manual action. So each time I would want the whole of this list to receive the whole of the campaign, in this case, there's just one, I would click here. So every time you click, whoever is in this list will receive this content, right? So this is the manual action. Now, coming back to the fact that we are about to create a newsletter and we're just setting up the sequence, I'm just going to go here and you have here the first email, right? One of the things is that you can create a number of email here. There has been some adjustment to the interface, so be careful on the depths of your email. The point that I wanted to make here is that before I even go into this, I want to duplicate, all right? The reason why is that, again, I'm mapping out the sequence of what I want to do. If I wanted to have, as I explained, a newsletter that spans over the 12 months, then I would need 12 of these in sequence, right? Here for now, what I'm going to do is just duplicate this 5 times, right? I'm not going to go the whole route of 12. 12, again, is a recommended number by Robert. I recommend 3 to start, but eventually you will get to the higher numbers as you should. Here, the reason why I want to do this is just to show you how the scheduling should be set up, right? So as you can see, when I duplicated each one of these emails, they are marked all as scheduled immediately, and they are all marked as running, right? This is because right now it is connected to this list, okay? Now, I'm going to edit the email, and the reason why I wanted to come here is just to have you understand what is happening when we're scheduling these emails. We'll come back in time for, again, the best recommended approach when creating content, especially where the conversation falls, right? But for now, we're looking at this. So note the first one here is immediately, and you have your drop downs allowing you to decide what is the the delay between each email. And this is important to understand. And this delay will always be anchored by your first email or to your first email. Meaning, here we have in our sequence the first email. Actually, let me go back here and say don't save. Here, let's take this out and I'm going to put email 1. Save. So we have the first email in the sequence marked for immediately. The second one following what we've done here would have to be timed in reference to that first one. So if I want this second one to go a minute after the first one is sent out, then here goes hours, days, month. We always recommend to start a campaign, especially at the beginning, until you achieve full mastery of this, to start separating them by day. All right. So I have the day option. And if I want this to be, for example, a daily email, then I would go for day one, meaning immediately would start the clock 24 hours, 24 hours after day two, no, 48 hours, not 24, sorry, 24 hours after day two, after day one, after immediately, basically, the second one would roll out. Okay, or mechanically, I should say, the second one would roll out. And so should go the settings. So you can see here, oh, one thing, I'm going to go back, save, switch this to 2, and here 1, and actually I'm going to do this, day 3 and day 2. You understand why I've done this here. When I saved, automatically notice what is happening. The email tool is starting to rearrange those in sequence of the days. Right? The first one was marked immediately. All the copies that I had were also marked immediately until I changed for day one for the second one and day two for the third one. So the tool itself is forcing you into a sequence. And this is the most important thing to understand when you're planning those out, right? It's something that people often miss, and that can create a lot of havoc into your planning. Okay? Especially if, in this case, we are about to offer a newsletter as a gift for more tips and advices around saving your data usage. Here I made a mistake. I'm just going to correct this. Save and exit. Right. So if your sequence, your email sequence is spread out over days, in the end, this is what it should look like in terms of planning. And as long as you have that, you can feel confident that your email will roll out properly. It's day 4, sorry. Here. So this is how your scheduled campaign should look like if it's separated by days. All right. And remember, we're always anchoring from the first. Good for everybody on how you schedule the email? Questions before I move? Perfect. Now, notice, I'm going to leave it connected here. And I'll explain to you why now, going back to the lead magnet, right? In this approach, in the idea of keeping them into the system and eventually going for that conversion, if the conversion doesn't happen here at this stage where I'm asking to fly with the interest, if it doesn't happen after through the gifts, because this is the important fact to remember about the gift. This is when your funnel starts as well, right? I came into your page. I didn't give you information. However, I got a gift from you. And that gift has all the contact and the follow-up information for you after you receive value to come get more. It's the illustration of this idea of forgetting the transactional nature of how the relationship starts. It comes back to the idea of giving to get, right? Because I give you this. If you took it, you're going to read it. If you read it and there's going to be value in it because I put time and passion into ciphering through these conversation that the AI gave me to answer these specific questions that you need. Well, when you have it, when you take advantage of it, you share that with somebody you know. How did you learn that? Well, I got it from this site. I'll send it to you. Word to mouth. has been always the greatest channel for people to gain notoriety. And it's also the greatest channel for you to get bombed, right? Even more the importance right now to be careful about the relationship that you're building with people. Why? Because we're in this boycott culture, right? So I'm giving you gifts here. So if you didn't take this and you go back to the previous page to play along with the game, right? You'll notice that at the end, I have this conversation. So you kept on playing with all these questions, saying the content that you have. And in the end, if you don't, well, by question five, I'm going to ask you for an exchange. And at that point, this is where this email campaign will kick off. So already I can offer an email newsletter campaign as a gift. Go ahead, Martha.
I just wanted to point out that exchange is spelled
Oh
wrong.
yeah, yeah, no worries. I did this quickly. I'll correct that. This is not going
Not
in.
trying to critique, but if you were going to send that out, you might want to.
No, no, of course. No, no. Like I said, at this point, if you notice, this is really just me building the infrastructure and mapping out the reaction. I haven't even gone into building the conversation, working on the actual structure of these paragraphs or these titles, right? Because remember, when this is complete at this level, one of the things that I will be going back to, understanding and knowing the power of what we have covered before in using these combos to rebuild every section, every fold of this platform. Right. So right now, I'm not seeing pictures. I'm not seeing text. I'm seeing the infrastructure, the journey. Right. And then we're going to come back and embellish it. This is important, I think, in the end. Yes, it's a mistake, but the bigger pursuit is the goal, right? Because often enough, for example, when you're defining your product, your objective, you are going here and you're stuck here directly trying to implement the process. But what we're doing here is going over applying everything that we have gone through in these stages, right? This is maybe often enough why I don't see these errors at these stages because I'm not focused on that. I'm not focused on what it looks like. I'm not even thinking about sending this yet, right? I'm still shining this diamond up, right? So this is important. One of the things also that I wanted to continue on is how you build up on these emotions, right? So I sidestep to the email campaign because it is part of that funnel strategy, especially if you're going to be giving, right? You want to make sure that you have a way of getting back, right? And this is also showing how all these tools apply. Note these steps because in the end, you want to take a look at your content and see, well, how does that apply? Or if you're building your your next funnel, then keep in mind, okay, where am I offering or when am I taking? When is it worth placing that offer? Comes back to that uh, point where we get stuck when we're trying to go through the sales flow between building rapport and booking the meeting, right? Making the offer, making that presentation. When we're stuck in these spaces is often enough because of the structure of our conversation. Where do we go back to make the offer? Which point of the conversation do we want to pivot back to so that we can position that? Right. And this is also the strategy when you're building these assets. Beyond the look, the beauty, the functionality is the most important. One of the things here that I done, uh, aligning this also with the structure or the approach that we had received when we were talking about the type of clients, is that I build this conversation or this demonstration around these type of outcomes. Yes, if the conversation started with a yes, it means that it's a good conversation that will unfold. hopefully. If it starts with a no, it might be a little bit more of a critical approach. And that brought us back to the understanding or the difference between the type of clients. The client is simple. If the conversation starts with a no, we might be looking at a client that is still simple but complex. And this is when we know that in this space, we'll have to bring in our expertise, right? If I want to avoid flight or fright in this space, then I need to invite for more questions, right? This is when you start giving a little bit more heavier information. This is also when, for example, in the idea of showcasing expertise in this space, right, is when you start looking at the features of your products, right? In this case, and remember that from the beginning, the questions that I've chosen uh, are predicting, or I'm trying to predict an outcome, right? So if I had a question with a no as an answer, then I understand that that is pertaining to a specific need that calls upon that feature, right? So I already know where my conversation is going. This is, again, the importance of understanding on knowing your product and when to leverage what is the client's or the prospect or the audience concern and the feature that works with it, right? And this is where cues become opportunity to invite, for example, for more direct exchange, right? Showing expertise at that point. If you have still questions, well, guess what? I'm available. Let's have an assessment. It's no obligation. So I can get you to the core of these features that you need. Still reward the interest, because if you don't take the uh, meeting, well, I still have the option again of making good with a follow up through a gift, right? So this idea of getting value is here. I didn't sign up, but I still got something that I could fall back on, something in line with that interest, right? So this is the most important thing when you're building your funnels. You want to understand the prospect journey, prepare yourself for what happens if they say yes or what happens when they say no, right? We still have the course document for that lead magnet uh, um, qualification steps. The tree and the approach is the same here, right? In our case scenario here, the last question led to the maybe, which is the complex but simple type. And in this case, to show that we can still integrate more tools if we need to, in this space, not only am I displaying more expertise by showing that, well, we have an interactive way to assess more your conversation, because if you're in the maybe, if you're refusing to make a choice, then you might have more things that you want to do. And this could be the opportunity for me to bring you into a more complex conversation. Since you are a complex client, well, we're going to sit and take the time to do so. So in this space, you can offer more information, more points, but always the same approach. The direct contact exchange, or the um, if the more information, the gift, sorry, with that option to come back to you. So far, so good with it for everybody. Perfect. Now, again, the important thing at this point is to know how from this point you're going to leverage your AI. I already gave you an example of how the workflow should go, because from this point, already knowing that in through this funnel process that I was following from the beginning, since I had gifts, or I was preparing, I had prepared gift, I was prepared, knowing that, well, whichever type of funnel I would choose to use, there should be something that falls in line with one of these, right? Quick check, teach facts, interactive hook, instant value, authority builder, all these are sort of included in this conversation, right? And depending on the path that the prospect will take, well, we'll get to a specific outcome. The more option you give, the better it is in the end, the more retention your conversation has. Coming back to the fact that I had planned and I have my 10 facts, then for content, it becomes a lot easier. If I choose to write a series of email campaigns, I can, right? And I can just come back and fill in the blank with the conversation. Knowing again that this AI has given me enough information to work on, I can take this, for example, which is the polished version and embellished version of my business uh, pitch. I can come to here and I say paste on the following. Sorry. You don't even need to put in the audience. So here, and I'm asking for a sequence because ahead of time I know that, okay, well, I have this email campaign option and I have prepared a few of them. I'm going to need to fill in some space. Go ahead, Daria.
Okay, so I was just wondering, since you're gonna do a sequence, it's best to duplicate it, or can you do a sequence by just adding another email?
Well, I
What's the
in
difference?
your case, I would recommend following this approach. Why? Because you're going to be
Following the
able
what?
following this approach here, creating the sequence before you send out anything. I would recommend you following this step. Why? Because you get to understand and work on the whole process before you start firing it up.
I
Make
agree.
sense? And in your case, since you are looking at control, okay, there's one thing. Here I talked about the connection part so that we automate the process. And I'm going to remove this. And on the other, I showed you how we could bulk email people the whole of our email campaign. Because in this space, as soon as I would click send, all of these would roll out in a sequence, right? So this is what I showed you so far. In your case, specifically where you are trying to control the sequence, meaning that I might create the whole five, but I might want to come back and tweak it before I send it out, right? Something might change. So I don't want it connected, right? Notice before leaving this space, I removed the connection. And you see everything went to dark. You see? So it's no longer running, right? But that doesn't affect what we're going to be doing next, okay? This means that this is not connected. Nothing can happen. There cannot be any mistake. I will need to trigger it manually, one at a time if I want to. Okay. So meaning that I'm going to get out of here and you, when you're ready to save it, because you have a list that you're building step by step, right? And this is usually what will happen when you're in the conversion space, meaning that I acquired your business and we're reacting one email at a time, and I'm predicting certain things that you will ask or I've prepared myself. So I have again a preset series of email, invoices, whatever. I need to control the issue of these emails. So here, for example, you see I can open this. There's nobody in this list for now, but the memory lane list is here. I can open it. And from the list, you can control the issue. You see here, send this list an email or email this list. When you click here, it's going to open up all the emails that you have. Okay. Now, you are best to remember how you called your email so that you can bring them up quickly here. So, and you can see here, I have my sequence. So far, so good?
Yeah, that wasn't, so I want to make sure you understand my question.
Go ahead.
Okay, when we go back to the emails, the emails I sent, okay, already. I have an email
Here.
list of the people I sent. Yes. Once I'm ready to follow up and do another one, do I go to those three toggles? Go back? Oh, to my, yeah. Never mind. Go to the three toggles on the side of the oh, Lord Jesus.
Okay, sorry. I understand. So you want me to go here, and go here.
Yes. If I'm going to the next one, do I hit duplicate or do I do a whole new one? Is it best to duplicate when I want to go and reach out to the same people again, or do I do a whole new one?
Okay. What I would recommend, because, okay, I'm going to do this from the beginning. So that way
Hey,
we have no
real quick,
confusion.
man, Virgil, I
No,
think what
no,
she's
give me,
asking too, to be
no, I
clear.
understand what she's asking. Give me 1 second because I want to show it to her plainly from the beginning. Okay. And I'll explain
Okay.
why I
Okay.
recommend it as such, right? Because this is a delicate conversation. There's many things being said in between the lines. So I want to address that. I think I went too fast in the first part of the answer. Okay. So coming back to your specific case, Doria, you are creating one email at a time, correct?
Right.
Right.
For now.
So for now. Now, you have to answer your question, you have the choice. You can come here having already established the look, the feel, the format of your first email template, right? And not
Yeah.
wanting to recreate it at the beginning again. Then you can go here and duplicate that.
Okay.
And then you work on the content and the scheduling.
But if I want to
Makes
switch it up and make it not look like the same, so it can look kind of exciting and
that,
different, then do the whole
exactly.
thing. But I
Exactly.
can
Meaning,
do
for
that in a
example,
sequence.
exactly. Meaning that, for example, I'll come back. You see this first email?
Robert,
It's, what do you want to add? Go ahead and add, Robert, please.
he's rubbing his head.
Yeah.
Y'all are giving me a headache because first things first, you guys both are not listening and maybe not asking the right question. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dorea. The original question was, do I need to duplicate or can I really, we didn't ask the question right. I could be wrong. Or do I just hit that purple magenta button that says add new email? Wasn't that the original question you were trying to ask?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
When you're
all we
doing
were
a
trying to get at.
sequence or when I'm
Right,
reaching
right.
out
But
to him
but the
again.
question
Yeah.
wasn't asked properly. I was trying to get that out. And again, we're not listening. That's the problem. You're not going to get to the answer if we're not listening to each other or we're not asking the right questions. So, Virgil, the question was if she wants to go and maintain that list, does she just click the three and just duplicate, or does she just hit add new AI email? And are they the same or are they different? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. And that's actually what I was answering to. Because a straight question would be, you can do it either or. You have the option. But in your case, Doria, you're asking a very specific question in between the lines because you're asking me, for example, and I'm going to erase this. And this is why I was going through these different examples. I created this first email. This is a generic one. And let's say, to make it very suave, for example, I added a few more things, right? This is now my template. We agree? This is, for example, what I want to keep every time I'm using this. Let me just, sorry, I'm going to put an image here. All right. And I'll
And
put
is
a
this
few
the
more.
same thing as a newsletter?
Well, the newsletter is the intent behind what you
Yes.
want to do with it. Right?
Okay.
The newsletter is not so much what we're doing here, but it's the overall objective of the sequence as you're building it. Make sense? Okay. So here you see we have created this twofold platform. It's a rough thing here. So now to come back to what you were asking and what Robert was saying is that if I want to go back to this exercise from scratch, you have the option. You can click add new and repeat it. The AI will generate the template and you will come back and add different things to it. But if you have already worked on your design here and you know that it's a winning format, then you duplicate and you keep that. Make sense? So that way you, having already organized the look and feel of the email, you only come and address the timing in between, right? And whatever new picture or new content you want to put, right? And to come back, to tie this back to what I was explaining earlier on, was that the reason, again, why I recommend this for you, because you either are doing this on a fly by fly email, or knowing that you have this opportunity before you to give all these 10 facts that are always accurate. You can create a sequence beforehand, freeing your hand, going into the automation. Go ahead, Robert.
So thank you very much. See how it was very well explained when we asked the right questions, right? Dore, my question would be to you is how many times per are you doing this newsletter monthly or are you doing it weekly? And if it's weekly, then follow this process, what he's talking about, and then you would have your 4 weeks, right? Set them out by week, and you could pre-plan your content. Right? Let's say November, you know what's coming. October, you know what's coming. You can pre-plan that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To
So
get
the
ahead of the
question is,
schedule.
well, the answer to the first one was I didn't realize this was what you guys were talking about, the newsletter, because it's
Mm.
called an email.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
didn't correlate
Connect
the
the
fact
dots. La la la.
that this is a
From the
newsletter. Okay, because you can format it and you can duplicate it, and that's what a newsletter is.
Hey, and
Okay.
on
exactly
that
a
note too,
newsletter.
sorry, on that note too, the beautiful thing that I love about Now Site, and Virgil, maybe it's one of your favorite things, but for me, I love the fact that we can send video within email. Right? Sure, it
Mhm.
has to be YouTube or Vimeo, Vimeo, however you
Vimeo.
pronounce it.
Mhm.
But that's another feature that I really love. So
Okay,
Right,
great.
definitely. Because you can dress up your content the way you want. Now, of course, there are certain things that you want to keep in mind because the heavier your package in the email, the restriction go up, right? So be careful about that. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, just FYI for terminology for email marketing, the difference between the newsletter and the email, an email is considered an autoresponder, meaning it can be automated. A newsletter is manually sent. You don't automate a newsletter. That's the reason where the differentiation of the two. But yes, it is a format of an email, but the newsletter is more like to update somebody. An email is more like telling your story and selling them on your product. That's the only difference.
very well said, Kim.
The one
Thank
thing
you.
is, the one thing is, I'll say it that way, okay? And this should cover all the points. These are marketing assets. That's why earlier on I said the newsletter ideal concept is the purpose that you give to this asset, right? Because coming back to the original capture and lining up all these conversation, meaning that I say, sign up for my email newsletter, receive 10 tips or advices that are usable all year long around the house. I set up the stage for the conversation. The person that will give his information is only expecting one thing. I'm going to receive emails with tips. If I have 10 tips, I can already create 10 emails in sequence, separated every 7 days. That's an automated email campaign at the root of it. But the purpose for which it's rolling out, the objective is the newsletter conversation, is fulfilling the newsletter conversation that I offered, right? This is why it's, again, so important. You can flip whatever you want, assets you want, or position the conversation the way you want. But the most important thing is the objective of the asset. This is what it makes a difference. Is this a acquisition asset, a retention asset, or a conversion asset, right? Because depending on that, the email conversation that follows or the offers will vary. Go ahead, Kim.
Sorry, that was a leftover hand raise.
Oh, it's okay. So remember,
All right. Thank
because
you guys.
this-
I appreciate it. I know we're
Yeah.
over, but
Oh, it's
I appreciate it. The light bulb got now I got to get to work, y'all.
Yeah.
make mistakes, allow yourself to be imperfect, because it's through correction that you actually become that shining diamond. Every diamond is polished. Have a great rest of the week.
Have a great weekend. We'll see some
I
of you.
love the engagement today. It was great. Everybody had something to say. I love it. The boiler room was back on.
I would have asked more questions, but my husband was in the room and he had the TV blaring with news, and it's awful. So anyway, next time,
time.
have a great weekend, all.
Thank you.